Of course, we have a very special guest with us today, Dr. Nuriyanti Jalil, a Malaysian citizen who is currently an assistant professor of communication studies at Northern State University, that will enlighten us in this hot topic in the Southeast Asia region. Dr. Nuriyanti, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi.
We know there is a 12 hours difference.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Good evening. Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here with us. We're going to go straight to our question and discussion. In your opinion, Doctor, with so few changes to the cabinet, can we say this is a political compromisation on the Prime Minister's part?
Yes, to be honest with you, I feel that the decision to keep 87% of Muhyiddin cabinet members in his administration, in the current administration, is a way of what we call it helping the new Prime Minister to set his route in what we call it in Malaysian politics as a Prime Minister. You have to understand that the current Prime Minister Ismail, actually won by a very what we call it a slim margin. It's not a simple majority. It's only 114 out of 222 seats. The people that support him, and most of these people that support him actually from what we call it the previous Muhyiddin's cabinet. So I believe that he didn't want to create rebels, within his administration by keeping these people around. But one thing that I really want to note here, even the fact that he kept 87% of what we call it former Prime Minister's cabinet members in his current administration, he actually added 9 new ministers, and most of these new ministers are what we call it UMNO members, which is the political party that he is representing. And this minister, say for example, these critical portfolios given to UMNO leaders, rural development ministry is highly crucial for UMNO leader to hold, because the fact that under this ministry they have MARA, and MARA is Majlis Amanah Rakyat. You deal a lot with Malay people, and they also handle FELDA. FELDA is like you also do a lot of what we call it dealing with rural Malay. So by having UMNO leaders to strengthen his footing in Malaysian politics. That's how I see it. And of course, communication minister, we have UMNO leader, in the seat right now. We have Tan Sri Anwar Musa.
Right. And Doc, so far we've seen that the opposition has reacted negatively to the presence of so many previous or old faces of the cabinet. For example, the Democratic Action Party Secretary General Lim Guan Eng described it as a recycled cabinet. So how will this impact the reconciliation process? Will it be productive at all?
I don't think that having the same faces within the same cabinet will help with reconciliation between people from the opposition party and of course UMNO-led administration. You can see that a lot of leaders in DAP parties, say for example we have Lim Guan Eng, we have Hana Yo, who said it's same old people, recycle cabinet members, and that will hinder this effort to kind of have this political reconciliation. So I do not see that an effective move to have better relationship with opposition party. And the fact that opposition parties kind of question, why are you keeping these people around? And knowing the fact that it didn't work the first time.
Right.
It didn't work the first time, right? And they were saying that the question is among opposition members is that you were saying that you want to reform democracy in Malaysia, but then again you keep your people around. So is this like an effort to reform what we call a democracy, or is it just same old false promise?
Same old with a different wrapper.
Right. So they have a lot of doubt with that.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Nuriyanti, as we're seeing the new data right now, new COVID-19 cases in Malaysia had crossed 20,000 mark again yesterday with 20,988 new infection. Now, with that said, it's stated that many had praised, of course, of the appointment of Khairi and Hishamuddin, and put their hopes on the duo for a more efficient COVID-19 handling. What is your take on that, Doctor?
Yeah, in Malaysia, I've been observing, this few changes within his cabinet. A lot of people like the fact that Hairi Jamaluddin is the new health minister because he was, the top performer in Muhyiddin administration. He was praised for a person, despite the fact that he's an UMNO leader, right? Hairi is UMNO leader, but he is a leader that people see that could work well with different stakeholders, including opposition parties. And when he spearheaded our vaccine effort in Malaysia, people could see results in contrast to our former health minister, which was Dr. Adham Baba. He was a little bit controversial in a way that he handled COVID-19. So Hairi Jamaluddin outshone him. So it is the right move for what we call it a prime minister to kind of put Hairi take charge of that and change Adham Baba to take over Hairi's old portfolio. And having what we call it Hishamuddin Hussein, our former defense minister. This is not his first gig as defense minister. He was defense minister under Najib Razak administration for 5 years. So people saw that he could do well his job the first time as a defense minister, and by having him back on board to kind of work together with Hairi, people have high expectation. So to be honest with you, out of the many UMNO leaders, Hairi and Hishamuddin have pretty positive, what we call it, responsive. People kind of like these two ministers, in contrast to other UMNO leaders.
Right, and certainly speaking of COVID-19, has had a huge impact on the economy over there in Malaysia. And because of that huge strain, will this cabinet arrangement, you think, draw investors in, especially foreign investors, to help improve the situation economically?
So Malaysia, like many other countries in the world, we witness a lot of plummets in terms of like investment, especially since the beginning of COVID-19. In fact, last year March, we recorded our lowest low, in over a decade. KL Composite Index 24% down, and this year alone, according to investment report, that what we call it. Our foreign investors sold their equities up to 5.3 billion ringgit. It's equivalent to 1.5 billion USD. Wow. Because despite the fact that we have increased vaccination levels. You get what I mean? So there's a lot of economists, a lot of political analysts, observers were saying that this is not because of COVID. This is highly likely because of political, what we call it, instability in Malaysia. So people were not convinced, to put money in a country with political instability. There's like something brewing. And if you ask me whether or not people want to come and invest to help with COVID-19, it depends a lot on whether or not this new administration, the fact that he has, old faces within his cabinet, can do well in terms of handling COVID, but whether or not they can work well with themselves, because the issue with the former government is that they have like infighting, they fight among themselves. So if this new leadership can work on, this infighting and can make sure that everybody can work together and show result in handling COVID better. So those that left the investment exodus that we witnessed since the beginning of the pandemic, those investors perhaps can want to return. So that's my thought on that.
Right. And it seems, of course, all the citizens of right now Malaysia are really focusing on this new administration and cabinet. Now, if the 100-day program of the government is not showing any results, do you think, Doctor, there's a possibility of reshuffle in December?
The Prime Minister himself, he alluded that, if these new ministers, they do not perform, that we're going to have reshuffle in December. So he alluded that. He did allude, saying the idea that perhaps there's a reshuffling. But the issue with that is that when he alluded that statement, there's no what we call it, rigid rubrics. How do you define good performance, right? Because how do you define that? That's like a very large gray area. So you can say this person performed well, but what exactly is the rubric? What exactly is the measurement? So I would say there could be reshuffle, there could be no reshuffle in December. It depends, because there's still a lot of ambiguity in terms of like, what do you mean by good performance, right?
Yeah, indeed. Doc, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. Unfortunately, we've lost your visual, but we still have you on audio, so we've caught everything that you shared with us. Thank you so much for your insight. It's really good to have somebody who's more in the know to share this with us, because we do have different governmental systems. So thank you again for your time. Have a great evening. Stay safe out there.
I apologize.
Yes.
We hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Doctor.
Take care. Have a good morning. So I think we...